So let's transition to our next segment. And while we do that, I want to also remind everyone that the Q&A is there for us to ask questions of our speakers who are quite versed in this topic that is being presented. So it's a good way for us to make sure that we are keeping ourselves up to date as it relates to a particular theme. Our next segment is called Preparing the Future Accountant. And when I say we have a very qualified panel to engage on this subject, I'm not kidding. This panel is being moderated by Stacey Ann Golding, a member of IFAC's International Panel on Accountancy Education and a past president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Trinidad and Tobago. And she will be moderating the session, which will include Mr. Gordon Beale of CPA Canada and a member, coincidentally, of my technology advisory group of IFAC, Ms. Caroline Booth, a member of ACCA's Council, and Jim Nafo of AICPA, who also is, I believe, a current director at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of the Caribbean as an affiliate member for his organization. So I will hand it over now to Stacey Ann, who will cover everyone's proper introduction, and I look forward to hearing the dialogue between the panelists. Stacey Ann?
Thank you very much, Lisa, and good morning, everyone. The accountancy profession, like all professions, is going through a period of appraisal as its future position as a result of numerous changes in culture, technology, and the world of work. In particular, the profession is witnessing a threat to its future viability as a result of three broad challenges. I call these the challenge of attraction, the challenge of relevance, and the challenge of change. The first challenge can be seen in the volume of data showing that fewer young people than historically has been the case are attracted at an early age to pursuing a career as an accountant. Subsequently, they are not studying accounting as a discipline. One impact felt by professional accountancy organizations is a diminishing pipeline of graduates ready to enter certification programs. This leads to the second challenge of relevance. Increasingly, accountancy is facing a barrage of social memes that state, without clear evidence, that the robots will take the jobs, that the demand for accountants is diminishing, factually untrue, and that technical accounting skills are being automated. The third challenge, and probably the most wicked of them all, is that the new skill economy is placing a greater emphasis on workers requiring more granular credentials for skills that will need regular updating and replacing. That is, the initial education and certification of an accountant is no longer going to be sufficient to guarantee career-long employment. These three challenges result in a clear shift in education and career choices and downstream impacts on membership of professional accountancy organizations. Joining me today are three erstwhile professionals in the field of accounting. I have, as part of the panel, Jim Knafu, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Global Accounting Alliance, a coalition of 10 of the world's leading professional accountancy bodies whose members practice in major capital markets. Collectively, the 10 GAA member bodies represent over 1.3 million accountants in over 120 countries around the world. Jim is also the Director of Global Alliances at the AICPA and CIMA. In this role, he represents the US accounting profession internationally, helps develop and implement international strategy, and leads the Global Alliances team. He currently serves as Deputy President of the Confederation of Asian and Pacific Accountants. He's a member of the International Integrated Reporting Council. He's a member of IFAC's membership committee and technical advisor to the IFAC Board, Council, and Professional Accountancy Organization Development and Advisory Group. Carol Ann Booth also joins the panel, and she is the director in the Department of Professional Practice Independence Group of KPMG. Previously, Carol Ann worked in KPMG's audit and advisory practices in Jamaica, London, UK, Romania, Croatia, and India, and now in the USA. Outside of work, Carol is all about ACCA. She's a global council member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, member of the ACCA Global Ethics Committee, and member of the ACCA Global Audit Committee. Carol Ann is the chair of the ACCA US Members Network, member of the ACCA International Assembly, and vice chair of the ACCA USA Members Network. Carol is also the co-education director of the Association of Government Accountants for Montgomery, Princess George's chapter, and the executive board member of the National Association of Black Accountants, Washington, D.C. chapter. And very importantly to us, the co-chair of the Jamaican Nationals Association of Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Carol Ann has been a part-time Becker CPA instructor for over 8 years and is an active member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica. And our final panelist is Gordon Beale, who is the Vice President of Research, Guidance and Support for Chartered Accountants in Canada. Gord's team conducts technical research and develops guidance and thought leadership resources to support CPA members across Canada. Gord is leading Foresight, Reimagining the Profession, and is a major initiative undertaken by the accounting profession to explore and prepare for non-traditional roles in the rapidly developing business and economic climate. He also leads CPA Canada's work in sustainable development and climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now ask our panelists to each make a short presentation to you on this subject matter, the future of our accounting, of the accountants, and how we prepare them. And our first panelist to do so is Jim Knafu. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Stacey Ann, for that kind introduction. And thank you also to the ICAC for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you, and also to see that the suit still fits after all this time with the COVID lockdown. Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you, even if we can't be together in person. Like my fellow panelists, I've only been allotted a few minutes to talk about preparing the future accountant. There's a large scope of things that we could discuss under that session title, but since this introduction is just meant to be a warm-up for the panel and to get the Q&A going later on, I'm going to start by limiting the scope of my talk. Limiting the scope. Can you tell that I used to be an auditor? Who else would mention scope in the middle of an introduction? Okay, so I want to focus on the preparation of entry-level accountants in the future. That group of young people who are just starting off in their careers. How do we get them ready? What do they need to know in a future that's changing so quickly, so rapidly, and where there's so many things that they need to understand? Using the USA as an example, the AICPA, that's the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, our research shows that the body of knowledge that's required of newly licensed CPAs has increased a lot since the 1980s. Compared to the 1980s, today, there are 3 times as many pages in the US income tax code. There's 4 times as many accounting standards, and there's 5 times as many auditing standards. I am so glad that I don't have to qualify today, because that's a lot of information to have to absorb. In addition to all the information, there are the procedures that licensed CPAs have historically performed are now being automated or offshored or performed by accounting techs. So today's entry-level CPAs are handling procedures that require deep critical thinking, problem solving, and professional judgment. When I started on the job a long time ago, my first day challenge was learning how to work with photocopier. But today, when a young CPA starts working, they have to hit the ground running. They really have to know a lot. But now the responsibilities that were traditionally assigned to more experienced professionals, they're all being pushed down to the staff level. And so as a result, newly licensed CPAs need to know so much more to meet the needs of practice. That's why in 2019, the AICPA began working on the CPA Evolution Initiative. The goal of this initiative is to transform the US CPA licensure model to recognize the rapidly changing skills and competencies that the practice of accountancy requires today and will require in the future. Based on the feedback that we received since 2019, and we reached out to more than 3,000 stakeholders of all types in order to decide how to proceed with this model, NASBA and the AICPA developed a new model for CPA licensure. The new model is what we call a core plus disciplines licensure model. So it's a core plus disciplines. The model starts with a deep and strong core in accounting, auditing, and tax, with a recognition of the impact that technology has on each. All candidates will be required to complete those core sections. Then each candidate has to choose from a discipline in which to demonstrate more skills and knowledge. And regardless of the chosen discipline, this model leads to full CPA licensure with rights and privileges consistent with any other CPA. And the discipline selected for testing does not mean that the CPA is limited to that practice area. So the benefits of this CPA model that we've come up with: one, it enhances public protection by producing candidates who have the deep knowledge necessary to perform high quality work, meeting the needs of organizations, their firms, and the public. It builds accounting, auditing, tax, and technology knowledge requirements into a robust common core. It reflects the realities of practice today, which require deeper proven knowledge in one of the three disciplines that are the pillars of the profession. And it's also adaptive and flexible, which helps to future-proof the CPA as the profession continues to evolve. And finally, it results in just one CPA license. If you would like to get a visual representation of this new model that I'm talking about, I uploaded a visual representation into the handouts for this session. So it may help you to look at that and follow along. But what we're talking about is a core based on, again, accounting, auditing, and tax, all underlined by the strength of technology. And then the three disciplines are business analysis and reporting, information systems and controls, and tax compliance and planning. So entry-level CPAs will have to complete the common core plus one of those disciplines. In the future, the model allows us to have flexibility to add or remove disciplines to reflect the reality of practice or to protect the public interest. So this new CPA exam will be launched in January 2024. And as you can imagine, this is a big deal for us in the US. So to help colleges and universities prepare students for the demands of professional practice and for the future CPA exam changes, this month, just a couple weeks back, the AICPA published the CPA Evolution Model Curriculum. The model curriculum and more information on this new CPA exam are available on our website, and it's in the handout that I referred to earlier. So I included a hyperlink specifically going to that webpage if you look at that handout. But I know I have to keep things brief because Stacey Ann has us on a tight leash. But I also want to quickly touch one more important topic so that we can get back to it during the panel discussion and Q&A. And this has been a common theme throughout the conference already, and I'm sure that my fellow panelists are going to pick up on it. But we're now entering into a new chapter for our profession as the importance of environmental, social, and governance reporting, or ESG reporting, becomes bigger than ever before. But again, I have to stick to my allotted time. So I'm only going to say that I uploaded a second handout for those of you attending the session that includes a hyperlink to the AICPA and CIMA's Sustainability and Business Series. On that webpage, you will find a wealth of resources to help you, your clients, everybody prepare for the ESG reporting that's coming up. So because I'm running out of time, with that, Stacey Ann, I think I'm going to stop now so I don't go over my time. And that will ensure that we leave lots of time for the panel discussion and the Q&A later on. So back to you, Stacey Ann.
Thank you very much, Jim. And really interesting tidbits that you have shared with us. And thank you so much for also uploading to the participants the various links. So we encourage the participants to please go to the website or use the platform to be able to get access to this additional information. But really interesting things, developments in the AICPA world. And of course, 2024 is going to be interesting times for persons who are pursuing the CPA designation. I now ask Caroline to share her perspectives from the ACCA on preparing the future accountants.
Thanks, Stacey Ann. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be presenting at the ICAR conference this morning. I think our theme for this session, Preparing the Future Accountant, is so well chosen because there's no doubt in my mind that the skills and attitudes which the next generation of accountants will need to thrive are very different from the ones I needed when I did my exams several years ago. At ACCA, preparing the accountants for the future is everything to us. We help prepare students to be the accountants of tomorrow through the qualification. Exams, experience, and ethics, the 3 E's, are the essential foundation of this preparation. We face the underlying threat of catastrophic climate change and disruption from digital and technological revolution. And of course, for the past 16 months, the world has been turned upside down by COVID-19. It's difficult to predict in precise terms what tomorrow will look like, but we can prepare ourselves and future accountants to respond resourcefully and wisely, whatever challenges come our way in the coming decades. This is all about personal qualities and character we look for and nurture in future accountants. It's about building a reverence for ethics in our qualification. This is crucial in a world where the rise of artificial intelligence, big data, and automation means that decision can increasingly be taken away from people. Retaining the human element in business decisions is vital, and accountants are best placed to provide that ethical insight, bringing a deep regard for the public good and the need of wider society to important investment and strategic decision. At ACCA, we know that this means accountants' roles are changing and will continue to change. It means that routine, repetitive tasks that might once have been carried out in finance department may be redundant. Footing and cross-footing by first-year auditors are now performed using various tools. So this frees up professional accountants to do other work of greater creativity, greater strategic importance, and greater value. ACC has been running a campaign called Rethinking Career, and I personally have been thinking. We listen all the time and watch very carefully what business needs from accountants. This shapes everything we do. It influences our qualification, our CPD sessions, certifications, our entire education offering, and our communication. It's a huge part of our professional insights work and the research we always publish. Let me tell you how ACCA does this in real practical terms. ACCA carried out the most in-depth research ever conducted in the accounting profession and where it's headed. We issued a report, Professional Accountants, the Future Drivers of Change, which identified how the accounting profession had widened its scope far beyond the parameters of purely technical skills to encompass a whole new array of abilities. This led directly to a new direction for qualification, which as a direct result of the research was refashioned to nurture certain professional quotients, including emotional intelligence, creativity, and communication. It inspired us to launch other new elements and new courses, Strategic Business Leader and Strategic Business Reporting. It reflects the modern world of business increasingly shaped by the focus of regulation, globalization, and digital advances. The new style qualification broke the mold for accountancy training and education across the world. And it came about as a direct result of listening to students, which is important, listening to members, employers, education providers, and all other many business partners. And this was part of a process, not a single action. The work to refresh, revise, and reinvigorate our qualification is never ending. It's a continuous process. I think this is why our qualification is valued so highly by employers and is respected throughout the world. Our recent global employers survey said that businesses are eager to recruit ACCA professionals because ACCA is widely acknowledged as a hallmark of integrity, ability, and professional accomplishment. But it's not just the qualification. We continue to help prepare accountants for the future by offering a full kind of events, publications, and podcasts which aim to disseminate all information and advice accountancy need to pursue. ACCA conducted numerous research and surveys to ensure our members and students are prepared as changes are made. But I'll mention just 2 reports we have published in the last few months, which have exerted such a powerful influence globally on the future of accountancy. ACCA's Chief Executive, Helen Brand, talked about these during our session yesterday, so I won't go over exactly the same ground, but I promise they're really worth looking out for. The first is Future Ready Accountancy Careers in the 2020s, which is based on in-depth interview, panel discussions, survey responses from business leaders all over the world. Its conclusion points to a future where accountants will play increasingly high-profile and powerful roles in the organization. It also paints a picture of a profession where people's function will change over time, give them opportunities to play new, interesting roles as their career grows and progresses. We anticipated accountants with agile skill will move between these roles at different points in their career. We believe that accountants will find a shifting landscape and changing business demand in a stimulating, rewarding, and endless fascinating experience. In this way, the digital revolution, the age of super-fast global connectivity, will liberate accountants from routine and deliver a rich, satisfying, and promising career. I'll also mention our report, Groundbreakers, Generation Z, and the Future of Accountancy, that was recently published in collaboration with IFAC. Status Gold, Director of Advocacy, IFAC, also referred to this briefly during his presentation yesterday. This was based on interviews and responses from more than 9,000 18 to 25-year-olds all over the world, including here in the Caribbean region. It offers a compelling vision of a generation of future accountants who see the world very differently from earlier generation. It's so useful for ACCA to understand with complete clarity what motivates and moves our students and future members. It's also vital for employers to understand what potential recruits, the people who will grow their business, want from their career. And what Gen Z individuals want and how they see work differs greatly from how we thought about employment when we began our working lives. They care deeply about the values of the organization they work for and what the employers believe in. They care about the issues of sustainability and climate change. And they want to work for businesses and people who are eager to make a positive difference in the world. Work-life balance, key area. Discussed especially like how we are on lockdown in the US for a while. And the chance of career development profoundly shapes their worldview. Of course, we listen to these opinions very carefully. We'd be crazy not to, wouldn't we? Since these are the men and women who are the accountants and leaders of tomorrow. So you can be certain that everything ACCA does on behalf of its members, we keep their best interests at heart all the time. We reflect the needs of future accountants and employers they will work for one day. Finally, let me end by saying that I'm full of optimism and I have faith in ingenuity and talent of the next generation of accountants. The new world definitely demands new talents, new skills, fresh thinking, and this opens the door wide to young professionals with ambition, dedication, and vision. We all know it's vital to keep learning, stay agile, remain open to new ideas, new ways of doing things, new methods, because the pace of change in the world is only accelerated. This change opened up new horizons of opportunities for young, forward-thinking, highly trained accountants who are ready to make a mark in business and the world. And we can all play our part in preparing for this brilliant future. Thank you so much. And again, hopefully you can send some Q&As for us to really have some deep discussions during the Q&A. I'll hand over to you, Stacey Ann.
Thank you very much, Carol. I'm very happy that you shared with us those thought leadership material, and I encourage participants to spend some time going through these things, especially for those of us who are business owners. It's very important for us to understand what the future could possibly look like. And I'm very happy to now introduce to you Gordon Gill, who has done quite a bit of research through CPA Canada. So over to you, Gordon, to hear your perspectives on how we prepare the future accountant.
Thanks very much, Stacey Ann. Appreciate the introduction, very kind of you. And thanks very much again as well to ICAC for having us here today during this panel. Fabulous opportunity to talk about the future of the profession, an area that I'm keenly passionate in. We began our work on foresight, reimagining the profession right near the end of 2018, and we engaged a wide variety of stakeholders, a broad range of individuals from a variety of backgrounds, members from a broad range of roles, regulators, standard setters, business leaders. It was really critical for us to get feedback on all of the opportunities that were lying ahead. It's not probably a surprise for some of you to hear that I've read some books on the end of accounting to understand where the challenges might lie ahead. And I'm a firm believer that, as with my colleagues, Jim and Carol Ann, we're far from the end of accounting. In fact, we're at a very important point in time where great opportunities lie ahead. Throughout our work on foresight, a big part of that work was not so much to predict the future, because we all know to predict the future is a significant challenge, but rather to look at plausible futures that in which the CPA, the chartered professional accountant, the professional accountant is relevant, is an attractive profession, and is something that adds value, because those are the kinds of issues, as Stacey Ann mentioned at the front end, are really critical for our success. Through our work on foresight, we identified a number of very interesting issues that you're all seeing emerge right around us. Of course, the world is continuously uncertain. It's very difficult to predict what will happen, but there are some real fundamental certainties that have just been coming to the forefront in the last 15 months of the experiences that we've had. When you look at the issues around technology, as has been already referenced, technology is going to continue to change. Advancements that go far beyond what we can probably even imagine today will continue to come at us. They will create new opportunities, but new challenges. And certainly some of the roles that accountants currently play and have played in the past, absolutely technology will provide a way of doing that kind of work. When I think back to when I first graduated and went out in my audit world, I went to companies that had 25, 30 people in accounts payable, accounts receivable type positions. And of course, technology has replaced many of those roles, but accounting has only found new ways to offer value and insights, as Carol Ann was saying, in ways of adding value that we hadn't even anticipated. We look at the role that investors and stakeholders are seeing in the area of financial information. And although financial information will continue to play a significant role, it's beyond that. The whole way that corporate value is being assessed today goes far beyond the financial returns. And in fact, when looking into the future to manage one's business, one needs to look beyond where the current financial situation is, because we all know all too well how quickly the world can change and how quickly the environment in which we operate changes. Then we look at the importance of real-time business information in the decision-making process. It's not good enough to look at what happened in the last 3 years. We have to be looking at today and making decisions based on information that are in our hands and available to us now, to be able to respond to the quick changes that are occurring around us. The exponential growth of data and the implications that presents for us, the growing concerns about climate change, issues of social equity and sustainability as we work towards 2030 and sustainable development goals are, of course, critical certainties. These are issues that are coming at us and present tremendous opportunities for the professional accountant. As we looked at those plausible futures that came out of the foresight work, we identified 3 critical potential areas of opportunity. One in the area of how CPAs can provide value in how organizations deliver value, as I've alluded to, delivering value far beyond the shareholder financial return side of things. The role of the professional accountant in data, in mastering data, in being the ones who can help the organization manage and govern that data in order to make effective decisions and drive the organization forward successfully. And the third piece that I'm going to talk about is the opportunity that lies in a core foundation of our profession, absolutely essential, and throughout our entire work as we talk to various stakeholders, both within the profession and outside the profession, that core element of trust, the trust that we provide, that the professional accountant provides in the context of information, data, beyond financial, and ethics, the ethical foundation that is so core and essential to our profession. These three interconnect very significantly, and over the last, really for the better part of the last couple of years, we've been digging deeply and researching the knowledge that is available to us and that we've been gathering and working with experts. We have an abundance of resources also available for free through our website to help you understand and see some of the insights that we've gathered through this process. But if I first talk about the value creation side of things, we're seeing organizations all over the world deliver value in different sorts of ways. Expectations of stakeholders, whether it's employees or customers or owners, and of course the broader public, they're looking for organizations to deliver value that goes far beyond financial returns. And if that's the case, then looking at performance and looking at the role of the professional accountant, we need to play a role in that context. Whether it's in issues of social change or environmental issues, climate change, this is the opportunity where we apply our core skills, our skills in analysis, our skills in insight that we can provide, organizing and managing the information and providing that necessary trust that leads to the delivery of value. It's a combination, and we're seeing that the value creation model is yes, shifting from the traditional value realization, which is based predominantly on past transactions, to one more focused on future value creation, determining future value streams. We're all very much aware that many of the most successful and most valuable organizations of today are largely being driven by large range of intangible assets, assets that are not seen on the balance sheet, whether that's the incredible engagement of the employees of that organization, or the access to and ownership of certain data, or advanced technologies that are delivering differently. These kinds of intangibles are what's driving that future value, and how we as a profession offer to provide insight around that and develop measurement models to incorporate that in the decision-making process. We provide insights that go beyond the financial information to those environmental and social impacts I've already been referring to. And then the whole concern that we need to move beyond the past and look to the future. If we are making decisions purely on what has happened, it's not going to be good enough in the world ahead. We need to be anticipating and looking at where things are going. Then, of course, the whole concept of measuring, communicating about the value and the role that professional accounts can play to provide the insight necessary to make decisions is really foundational. Now I talk a little bit about the data side, because data, of course, is driving so much today. And we're all seeing, we're having troubles knowing what to believe. The abundance of data, the source of that data, where that data is coming from, who's providing that data, who can collect it, how to share it. These are all issues that are fundamentally impacting all organizations, public sector, government, as I say, private sector, corporates, and not-for-profits. The integrity of that data, the assurance that can be provided around verifying that data and providing the trust in the information that's being utilized for decision making is critical. We have opportunities to inform our members in that way, that assessing and determining the relevance of that data is going to be so critical as we go through the data collections, through data access to the analytics side of things. We've done a series of information sessions. We've worked closely with IFAC, the International Federation of Accountants, and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Scotland to develop work as well. And more recently, we've extended it into the trust and ethics piece of it. And that trust and ethics is what's going to pull a lot of this together. And although it's true that organizations face a whole range of complex problems, and that complexity is not new, and it's amplified by technology, the complexity that we need to deal with is significant. And technology is a double-edged sword. It's going to bring complexity and ethical challenges, but it also provides the tools to manage these situations. We've done work, and a number of publications are coming out, as I said, in partnership with ICAS and IFAC, that will help to provide insight on some of these issues. How, within the context of data, we manage the biases and misinformation and disinformation that we all know too well are impacting the information that we're utilizing. And of course, there's a fundamental shift in competencies. I'm conscious of the time, and I know I think I may have gotten a subtle indication that I need to wrap up. But there's a lot of work happening in this space. We have resources available on our website, and I'll just close by saying that the competencies of the future for the CPA reflect tremendous opportunities on the data side, on value and value opportunities. We're seeing young people, young individuals step up and say, this is the kind of profession we want to be a part of. Our world is changing, and as professional accountants, we need to learn, unlearn, and relearn on a continuous basis, and applying our core foundational skills and competencies to address the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead. Stacey Ann, I'm going to maybe wrap up on that note. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gordon. One of the things I noticed that was common amongst your presentations was a reference to integrated reporting, climate change, and sustainability reporting. And once you're thinking about preparing anybody for the future, we're recognizing indeed that it is imperative that our professionals, accounting professionals, make sure that they understand or are trained in these areas. So my question to the panel, and I'd love to hear from all three of you, what is being done by your organizations to prepare the Caribbean professionals and students for the opportunities in and expertise required to be effective in the space of integrated reporting, sustainability reporting, and climate change? Because we're pressured for time, I'm going to ask you to respond in 2 minutes each, please. So Jim, let me start with you.
Okay. I wasn't sure who you wanted to go first. I was waiting for that cue. I mentioned briefly at the end of my presentation that one of the handouts I included was the sustainability resource series that we've prepared. And so that it's free for everybody. You can just go on the website with the link in the handout. And it really goes through the ESG, all three of them, and what you have to do in those areas. I can't overemphasize how important ESG is becoming and how quickly things are moving. Just in case not everyone in the audience is familiar, I want to talk about two very major developments that's happening in that space. And I know Gord knows this very well. The first is, last year, the IFRS Foundation put out a consultation. And what that consultation, the results indicated, was that there's a need for global consistent standards in this space. And it's important that this happens now. And so the IFRS Foundation is working on establishing an international sustainability standards board under the umbrella of the IFRS Foundation to sit alongside the International Accounting Standards Board. That's a critical thing. We need that standards board up and running as quickly as possible, and we need them to start promulgating standards as fast as they can, because society at large is saying sustainability, climate change, ESG, all these things are very important. We see it on the news almost every day, the protests. So we can't wait. The profession has to really get behind the ball quickly and get these things moving. The other thing I wanted to mention quickly was the recent IIRC, the International Integrated Reporting Council, merger with SASB, which is the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board in the US. In the past, we've had alphabet soup, all these different organizations, all pursuing different aspects of sustainability. Now we're seeing them coming together, recognizing that we need to have a little coalition around, a convergence rather, of these organizations so that we can come up with one global set of standards. It's so important because we can't have every jurisdiction going off in different areas. So I just wanted to highlight those two things. I know you only gave me 2 minutes, but those two developments just underpin how important this area is for accountancy, not just in the future, but right now. Things that we really have to get ready for within firms, for our clients, for all of that. I'll just stop there. I know it's past 2 minutes.
Thank you, Jim. Carol, your perspective from the ACCA's perspective. Volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I apologize. Yeah, these are buzzwords, everyone, and it's essential for future members. ACC has a rethinkable sustainable business hub which illustrate how to develop our understanding of these issues related to sustainability. And I can probably put the link afterwards in the chat. But for students, sustainability is fully integrated in our qualification. We have some topics like diversity impact, environmental taxation, new business models, circular economics. And we help members basically by doing CPD events and various podcasts. Just brief to illustrate for students what we do, practical experience requirements. To complete their qualification, they must show that they can support business by effectively performing the role in a financial professional manner. So performance objective one, we have various performance objectives. And number one, focus on ethics and professionalism and requires future members to use professional judgment and to think in a rounded, sustainable way. There's another performance objective which covers strategy and innovation and develops the skills required to support sustainable business by encouraging the use of innovative to solve business problems. Also, there are other objectives which focus on management accounting and all the integrating reporting, which we see which is required now. And also we hold webinars, regional conferences of various teams around sustainability. And we also act as a super connector, bringing key stakeholders together, actively promoting our research, which we mentioned before. And we have panel discussions with experts in the field. They share opportunities and expertise needed, circulation on articles. We participate in the COP26 conference in Glasgow in November, and also events in Climate Week. So that's basically, in summary, Stacey, what we are doing to really prepare our members on sustainability and integrated reporting.
Thank you very much, Carol. And Gordon from CPA Canada.
Thanks, Stacey. And yeah, as you, I think, alluded to in the introductions and certainly in our previous conversations, an area of great passion of mine.
Yeah.
It's something that we've done a lot of work on. I'm always impressed the amount of work that's also coming out of the AICPA and ACCA. A tremendous amount of resources available for people to look at, and that's similar with us. We have a range of materials, totally free access to. But I want to focus on a couple of things. We're a member of His Royal Highness A4S, Accounting for Sustainability, out of the UK. And one of the things that we do with Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada is we're also a member of the global CFO leadership network that was established. And we have a localized chapter of that. There's been a ton of work that's coming out of that that's really looking at a range of sustainability issues, practical guides that you can apply in your organizational setting. And I recommend strongly, and we can find a way to provide access to some of that. That is available, and it's the kind of reading and practical tools that would be useful. I want to touch on also this whole pathway to net zero and how we move towards a low carbon future. It includes social issues, and we're increasingly doing work in that space to help organizations and governments deal with those kinds of issues because they are so significant, and we have to make sure we don't lose sight of that. And I guess the final piece, which is something that we've done a lot of work on that's very practical as well, is often the adaptation side of climate change receives a lesser amount of attention than the whole mitigation and reducing greenhouse gas. About 6 or 7 years ago, we began partnering with the federal government in Canada to develop a whole series of resources and training and tools for professional accountants to understand their role that they can play either in the organization or providing services to their organization in adapting to climate change. Because the reality is we're seeing climate change happening around us. And if our profession can help their organizations adapt and deal with those things, they're going to be at the front end of providing value. And those resources, many of those resources are available for free through our website.
Through your website.
And we have
Thank
training
you very
sessions, by the
much.
way, too. We also have a variety of training courses, webinars, that sort of thing. So it's all to help members prepare for this. Thank you.
And let me just quickly follow up. Are you offering these courses to members only, or can non-members, having registered, perhaps get access to?
Yeah, no, they're available more broadly. I can certainly go back and check in how we can provide an access to where to find those courses, but those are, absolutely. And I'll follow up on that one, Stacey.
Thank you.
But they're available not just to members.
Shifting gears a little bit, and I tend to, when I do these conversations, to go as practical as possible. And yes, we're talking about changes in the profession, preparing the future accountant, but a practical reality is that, we work for remuneration. So how do you perceive remuneration models within the profession to be affected by these changes that professional accountants are currently undergoing? And so let me start off with Carol. Any perspectives on
Excellent.
that?
Yeah, that's fine. Remuneration for the profession is really competitive and it's attractive, especially, I'm sure it's the same in the Caribbean, but it depends on the sector in which an accountant works, isn't it? So the possibilities are endless. I pulled a research from the Economic Research Institute, which compiles the best salary, cost of living, and executive compensation survey. And it gave us the salary for accountants in Jamaica. It's trending up like probably 2.7 million Jamaican dollars. And what's interesting to note is from recent research, which I referred to earlier, Gen Z, they're not necessarily drawn to the profession because of salaries. They're attracted to basically the opportunities that are offered as an accountant. They're drawn to profession for career opportunities, the chance to move roles, international experiences, and various areas in the organization. And ACCA role is really to try and assist them in employability. So again, I think the salary, it really varies, Stacey, but we definitely see our role changing. We're not just ticking and tying for the book to the records anymore. We're more just taking a more strategic focus and assisting the employer with strategic focus, correct?
Yes. Thank you. Gordon, what are your perspectives on this?
Yeah, I completely agree with Carol Ann. I'll just build on a couple of points. I think it's true. I think that a lot of the young people who are getting into the profession that start with that, they're attracted by far more than the financial rewards. But the financial rewards are good, very good. In fact, we're seeing that CPAs or professional accountants are offered opportunities to advance. The skills that they're trained with are applicable in so many different ways. And it's how they provide that as time goes by, how they add value, that they're seeing the opportunity to apply themselves. And I will say, I guess, additional piece of that is the pathway that they follow through their careers are not necessarily linear. So they'll have opportunities to get into different range of experiences and offer value that will lead to the remuneration that fits their needs. And as Carol Ann said, it really very much is interconnected with what their personal beliefs are and where they're trying to drive their career.
Fabulous point. I would love to just use that snippet and go and tell these young people, stop worrying, this is where you need to be. Jim, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to build on what Carol Ann just said. From our research, what we're finding is that young people, well, first of all, they're not driven as much by money as perhaps previous generations. They're driven by, they want to make a difference in the world. They want to feel that the work they do is contributing to good in society. And so this push towards sustainability, it's right up their alley. This is what they really want to do, because that makes them say, auditing doesn't sound too sexy. But when you're helping to heal the world, that sounds really enticing. And the use of technology is something that also really captivates them. This generation that's coming now into the workforce, they're digital natives. They grew up with these things. You want to get your iPhone fixed? Give it to a 12-year-old. Don't take it to your IT tech. The 12-year-old knows how to fix it. They want to know how, they want to use technology better. And that's a big emphasis of where the profession's going with data analysis, blockchain, all of these sexy kind of things that for older accountants might seem a little scary about stuff we need to know. That's what young people just are diving into. They really want to get into that. The last point I'll make about remuneration is our research is showing that it's going up. And I'll just give you some anecdotal information because through my role in GAA, I get to talk to accounting bodies around the world. And in a recent call I had with chartered accountants in Australia and New Zealand, they were telling us that they need accountants. They're going to be going to like the UK and the US and kind of looking to draw accountants because they don't have enough of them down there. And when that comment was made, I had colleagues in the UK saying, well, don't come here because we're going through some heavy audit reform in the UK right now that's going to require even more accounts than we currently have. So we don't have spare accounts to give you. And if you go to US or Canada, it's the same thing. We don't have spare accounts to send you. So the firms don't, in the past, firms always do international transfers. But now we're hearing USA and Canada saying, we don't have accounts to transfer either. In fact, we want an inflow of accounts. So we're all connected globally. It's a global profession. And with all of these different countries pulling and trying to get more and more accounts because of sustainability, because of the challenges of clients, technology, and so forth, I think globally, it is going to start driving salaries up. And that will just add on to the other elements I added earlier to draw more young people to the profession. So I see very bright future for the profession myself.
Thank you.
It ties a little bit,
Jim.
when I listen to that, it ties a little bit to what Carol Ann was saying earlier. Sorry, Stacey Ann, but it really resonated from what Carol Ann said earlier about how this change that's coming at us and how members are looking to the future. I'm sorry, the opportunities are the technology will replace the more mundane type elements of the accounting profession. And it opens up opportunities for new value adding opportunities that are very exciting and much more, much more engaging. And this is really what we're seeing.
All right. I totally agree with you. I must say that, and let's Lisa just be aware that if there are any questions from our participants, we'd love to hear them, but we'll continue the conversation until Lisa interjects.
Yeah, there are actually two questions, actually. There are questions, if you'd like me to, and I'll be honest, tell you that I posed them both. The first one I think we touched on already, because it was, I think, your opening question, which is really more in the Caribbean. We kind of delegate the education of our students to our partners like CPA Canada, like ACCA. So what is it specifically that our PAOs now need to kind of do once they become members of the PAO to make sure that within the context of the Caribbean, they are relevant and taking forward the profession? But I think that's coming out in general in the conversation that's going on right now. But I also wanted to kind of put my hand up as, someone who's been in this profession 30 years plus. And, we're talking about young people. Yes, me. But at the same time too, education is something that's constant for us as professionals, and the disruptors are many and varied. So how do we, as the older ones in the profession, really stay relevant? How do I continue to become that provider of service, of choice to my clients, without having to be an expert on everything? Because there's just so much now to kind of keep a track of. Yeah.
So maybe I'll ask Carol and okay, Jim put up his hand. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to. I know Lisa well, and she's great. Lisa, I think you hit on a really important topic. And when you speak to the leaders at all the larger PAOs around the world, they'll tell you that the biggest challenge in education isn't as much teaching the young entry-level people. We're going to take care of that. We're changing our exam. ACCA is looking at it. CPA Canada is looking at it. Everybody's adapting to train those new entry-level candidates. But the biggest challenge is training all of those accountants who are, let's say, 20 years into their career, that 40 to 50-year-old range, that they still have maybe 15, 20 years still to go in their career. And for them, the world is changing so quickly that they're just trying to hang on, and those are the folks that we really have to train. So that's such an important issue that Lisa brought up, because for them, they didn't grow up with computers and technology to the same extent as the young people. The fact that they have to learn all that stuff, keep up on all that stuff, learn the new technologies, get up to date on sustainability, and all the other things that are going on, that's the biggest challenge for all PAOs. And I'm sure ACCA and CPA Canada face the exact same challenge. And all of us are adapting by offering as much CPE as possible and to encourage that range of accounts to get out there, to keep their skills up to date. It's so important. It's probably more important than ever to keep up your continuing education.
Okay, but I just wanted to link this to one of the questions that that we raised before, or I raised with you guys, as we prepared for this session, in terms of, yes, we have to prepare, but specifically, what tools are available. So for example, at 50, what do I do to get ready for, a change in career, a rethinking of my career, and moving towards, for example, integrated reporting, or worse yet, climate change?
I mean,
What
I
should
can
I do?
answer this because
I
yeah, I can
You were
answer
saying
this.
that?
It's scary. I must say, because we're working with different generations, right? The persons who are about to retire, which we're learning from, are working with the younger generation. And I just humble myself on my jobs. They come with all these fascinating techie knowledge. And I just say to them, do you mind sharing? Do you mind sharing? So on the job, I just listen. I just listen, learn, and let them know clearly, do you mind spending 5 minutes showing me X, Y, Z? Because we have to. And also, I mean, Jim already alluded to it. There's so many, our societies do so many webinars, so many panel discussions. Were overwhelmed with, especially during the pandemic, with online virtual meetings, training. It's KPMG has a lot. They have so many. How do I keep up? But I think the key here is to recognize the gap, which I personally do. And on the job, just to speak to the on the job piece, I just try and learn from them and plus do weekend reading and research. That's what I personally do.
Yeah. Thank
If
you
I
very
can,
much,
Stacey
Carol.
Ann, just
I must share a personal testimony whereby there's a particular topic that I wanted to direct my firm into exploring more. And I was so happy to see that I could spend, maybe 30 hours of CPE time, get my accreditation, and then I could go and include in my proposals that here it is, I'm certified by ACCA for this particular thing. So I would also like to ask Gordon now, as we wrap up, one of the things that I've noticed even in my research and even in just a day-to-day projection as to what the future would look like, I'm thinking that who we call an accountant could possibly change. What are your thoughts on that? I have 2 minutes for you.
Yeah, that's been an important recent conversation that we've been diving into. I've been speaking with academics across the country. There's some really interesting research happening around what is that identity of the accountant. And when we talk about transforming the profession, it's interesting because like the other speakers, I've been at presentations where I've talked about all the change that's happening, and I've had members come up and say, this is too scary, this is overwhelming, I can't keep up with the technology. What do you mean we have to deal with social and environmental issues? And they're saying, I'm just looking forward to retirement. And so how they overcome that. And yet the reality is we're seeing, of course, that there are core foundational pieces of what it means to be a professional accountant. So what we're trying to avoid doing is creating a situation where we're entirely, we're not trying to make plumbers out of accountants. We're not trying to change the foundation of what it means in that context. There are some fundamental changes coming. How we deal with data, how we deal with technology, how we rethink performance and value in the context of social environmental factors beyond the financial element are definitely critical. But when you start to look at the core elements that transcend all of that, it's about the trust that we can provide, the integrity that we provide as a profession, the ethical foundations of leadership. And it's important to note that I think if there's the really big opportunity for changes is to demonstrate our professional curiosity, our willingness to continuously learn and unlearn and move forward. That's really critical because that's what's going to make a professional accountant successful, is that ability to embrace change and look to what's next and utilize and leverage those core foundations.
Thank you, Gordon. And we're just about to wrap up. So I'm going to ask you for, a 30-second thought in terms of, what you think is critical as we prepare for the future accountant. Jim, we'll start with you.
Sure. I think what's really critical is embracing technology in all its forms, because they're going to impact every part of the supply chain. Whether you're an accountant working inside an organization, preparing your corporate reports, technology is going to affect you. If you're doing the audit, technology is going to affect you. Everywhere along that supply chain, technology is going to have a big impact. So you have to keep up to speed on the latest technology and learn all the different trends. And you can't necessarily be an expert in everything. You have to rely on your fellow accountants in the firm to pick up different pieces of an audit or of preparing a corporate report.
Thank you. That's a good point. Caroline, final thoughts?
Yeah, see it as an opportunity, not a challenge. Just stay up to date, stay engaged. We can do it.
We can do
The
it.
older generation, the younger generation, they're so confident. They're beyond me. Come on, we can do it. We've survived 30 years if we're in the accounting profession for 30 years. Just stay engaged with the various societies. There's a lot really for us to enjoy going forward.
Thank you very much. And Gordon? Volume.
My apologies. The accounting profession has been around for a long time, and we've demonstrated an ability to adapt to the needs of society. I will say that the complexity of today is so substantial, we can't do it on our own. So to Jim's point, make sure we're embracing other members, our colleagues, but it goes beyond that to in fact be collaborative, embrace as a team effort the challenges that we have ahead, and engage, because we can't do it all on our own. We're part of a global community, and accountants are going to be playing a very significant role in that.
Thank you very much. May I say, it has been a pleasure moderating this particular panel, just speaking with you and knowing the wealth of information that you're willing to share. Thank you so much. This has been a great experience, and definitely we can do it. You know, the future is bright. Yes, we have a space in the environmental sustainability, climate change, and other integrated reporting opportunities. But more importantly, is that together we can achieve what we need to. Thank you so much. Over to you,
Thank
Lisa.
you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.
It's great.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stacey Ann, and thank you, team. In fact, the conversation reminded me, I know, of one of Gord's favorite sayings, which is accountants can save the world, something that we can definitely get put on a t-shirt.